pushed his cleaning cart down the empty hallway. His footsteps echoed in the quiet station. It was 3 in the morning station time. This was when he liked to work best. No crowds. No aliens rushing past him. Just him, his music, and the floors that needed cleaning. He was 28 years old and had been working on Meridian 7 station for 2 years now. The station was huge. It floated in space like a small city. Hundreds of different alien species came here. They talked about trade. They made deals. They argued about politics and cleaned up after all of them. Humans were still new to this whole galactic community thing. Only 50 years ago, humans had met their first aliens. Now they were everywhere in space. But most humans, had simple jobs. They were janitors, cooks, delivery workers. The fancy jobs went to other species who had been in space for thousands of years. Didn't mind. He had a steady job. He had a small apartment. He could send money back to his family on Earth. That was enough for him. Tonight he was cleaning the diplomatic wing. This was the fancy part of the station. Rich and powerful aliens had their offices here. Big decisions happened behind these doors. But at night, it was just empty hallways and mop. He hummed along to the old Korean song playing in his earbuds. His grandmother used to sing it. It made him feel less lonely up here in space, so far from home. As he mopped near a storage area, he heard something, a small sound like a whimper. He pulled out one earbud and listened. There it was again. Walked toward the storage closet. He opened the door slowly. Inside, behind a stack of cleaning supplies, he saw something move. 2 large eyes stared back at him. They glowed softly in the dim light. "Hey there," said gently. He kept his voice quiet and calm. The creature pressed further back into the corner, could see it better now. It was small, about the size of a human child, but it definitely wasn't human. It had scales that shimmered with colors, purple and blue and silver. Small wings were folded against its back. A thin tail wrapped around its body. Recognized the species. He had seen adults before. They were huge, at least 8 feet tall. They looked like the dragons from old Earth stories. This one was just a baby. "It's okay," said. "I'm not going to hurt you." The child made no sound, just stared at him with those big, scared eyes. Thought for a moment. He shouldn't be seeing a child here alone in the middle of the night. These aliens were important. Their children didn't just wander around. Something was wrong. But the kid looked terrified. If called security right now, it might scare the child even more. "You hungry?" asked. He slowly reached into his cart. He pulled out his lunch box. "I've got some rice balls. My roommate made them. They're pretty good." The child didn't move, didn't make a sound. Sat down on the floor, cross-legged. He opened his lunch box. The smell of seasoned rice filled the small space. He took out a rice ball and took a bite. He said, chewing, "Yeah, these are good." He held out another rice ball toward the child. Not too close, just offering. The child looked at the food, then back at the food. Minutes passed, just sat there eating his dinner. He didn't stare at the child, didn't push. He just existed there, peaceful and calm. Finally, the child moved, just a little. One small claw reached out. It took the rice ball, then pulled back quickly. Smiled but didn't make a big deal of it. He just kept eating his own food. What didn't know was that someone else was watching. In the shadows at the end of the hallway, a figure stood perfectly still. She was tall and powerful, with scales that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Her wings were folded tight against her back. Her golden eyes were fixed on the storage closet. Ambassador had been following her child for the past hour, had slipped away from the guardian again. This happened every few days. Her child would wander the station at night, silent and alone. Wanted to go too, to scoop up her baby and carry them to safety. But she had learned that doing so only made things worse, would become more upset, more withdrawn. So she followed from a distance, making sure was safe but giving the child space. When the human janitor had tensed, she was ready to intervene, but then something strange happened. The human didn't panic, didn't call for help. He just sat down and offered food. Watched as her child, who hadn't made a sound in 6 months, took the rice ball from the human's hand. It was such a small thing, but it made hearts ache. She had tried everything to help: the best doctors, the most skilled telepathic healers, advanced medicine, therapy. Nothing worked. And here was this human, this simple cleaner, doing what no one else could do. He got to reach out, to take something offered, to trust, even just a little bit. In the storage closet, finished his dinner. He packed up his lunch box. "I've got to get back to work," he said to the child. "But I'll be around. If you want to hang out again, I'm here every night." He stood up slowly. The child watched him but didn't run away. "Take care of yourself, little one," said. Then he left the closet door open a crack and went back to his cleaning cart. He finished mopping the hallway, humming his songs. He didn't see the small dragon-like child peek out from the closet. Didn't see the child watch him work. Didn't see the child's mother, hidden in the shadows, watching them both. After moved to the next hallway, finally approached the closet. Saw her and didn't run. That was progress. Small but real. Gently picked up her child. Curled against her, making no sound but accepting the comfort. She could smell the human food on's breath. "Who was he, my little Sky?" whispered in their language. "What did the human do that we could not?" Of course didn't answer. But that night, for the first time in months, her child fell asleep quickly, peacefully. Held close and thought about the human cleaner. She would need to learn more about him, about what he had done, about why it had worked. Tomorrow, she decided. Tomorrow she would look into the station records. She would find out who this was. But tonight, she just held her child and felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. 3 nights later was polishing the windows in the diplomatic wing. He liked this job. The station windows showed the stars outside. Sometimes he would stop and just look at them. Earth was out there somewhere, too far away to see, but out there. He heard a soft sound behind him, a gentle scraping like claws on metal. Turned around slowly. The small dragon child was there, the same one from before. It stood in the middle of the hallway watching him. "Hey," said with a smile, "you came back." The child didn't respond, just stared at him with those glowing eyes. Sat down on the floor. He patted the ground next to him. "Want to sit?" The child moved closer, not all the way, but closer than before. It sat down about 5 feet away from him. He said, pointing to himself. "That's my name. Do you have a name?" Silence. The child just watched him. Pulled out his lunch box again. "I've got dumplings today. Want one?" He held out a dumpling. The child hesitated, then slowly reached forward and took it. This time, the child didn't pull back as quickly. It sat there, eating the dumpling while ate his own dinner. "You know," said, talking mostly to himself, "when I first came to this station, I was pretty scared. Everything was so big and different. I didn't know anyone. Couldn't speak any of the alien languages very well." The child tilted its head slightly, listening. "I called my grandmother back on Earth. She told me something. She said, when you're scared, just breathe, just be. You don't have to be brave all the time. Sometimes it's okay to just exist." Pulled out his phone. He scrolled through his music. "She also told me that music helps. Want to hear?" He played a song. It was a gentle melody, an old lullaby. The child's ears perked up. Its tail moved slightly to the rhythm. "You like music?" asked. "Me too." For the next 20 minutes they sat there, played different songs. The child listened. Sometimes would hum along. Sometimes he would tap his fingers on the floor like a drum. Then did something silly. He stood up and started doing a funny dance while cleaning. He twirled his mop like it was a partner. He moonwalked while pushing his cart. He made exaggerated movements, spinning and dipping. And then he heard it, a sound, small and soft but definitely there. The child had made a chirping noise, almost like a laugh. Looked at the child and grinned. "You think I'm funny, huh?" The child's mouth might have curved up a tiny bit. It was hard to tell with a dragon face, but thought he saw it. "Well, good," said, "because cleaning is boring if you don't make it fun." What didn't know was that Ambassador was watching again. She had accessed the security cameras. She sat in her office, staring at the screen. Her child had made a sound, a voluntary sound, the first one in 6 months. Had spent those 6 months in agony. After the assassination attempt where attackers had burst into her office during a meeting had been there. Her child had seen the violence, the blood, the fear in its eyes. Since then had shut down completely. No words, no telepathic communication, just silence. The best minds in the Empire had tried to help. They used advanced technology, powerful telepathy, ancient healing techniques. Nothing worked. And now this human, who knew nothing about psychology, who had no telepathic ability at all, who was just being himself. He was reaching her child. Watched as the human showed magic tricks, simple human tricks with coins and cards. Her child leaned forward, fascinated. When the coin disappeared and reappeared behind the child's ear, chirped again. Over the next week, and the child met every night. The child started showing up earlier, waiting for near his cleaning cart. They fell into a routine. Would share his dinner. The child would eat with him, then would teach the child simple things. How to make shadow puppets on the wall, how to play rock, paper, scissors, how to clap along to music. "Okay, watch," said one night. He made a dog shadow on the wall with his hands. "Dog, woof woof." The child watched carefully. It tried to copy him with its claws. The shadow looked more like a weird blob than a dog. Laughed. "Hey, that's pretty good for a first try. Let me show you another one." He taught the child Korean words, simple ones. Hello was, thank you was, friend was. The child would mouth the words silently, practicing. One night brought a sketchbook. "I like to draw sometimes," he said. "It helps me relax. Want to try?" He showed the child how to hold a pencil, how to make lines and shapes. The child's drawings were shaky at first, but encouraged every attempt. "That's great," he would say. "Look at that circle, you're a natural artist." The child would make small happy sounds, chirps and clicks. Watched all of this. She studied every interaction. She tried to understand what the human was doing that she had not done. Then she realized something. The human never demanded anything. He never pushed to speak, never treated the silence like a problem to be fixed. He just accepted exactly as they were. Every doctor and therapist had focused on fixing the problem. They needed to talk. They needed to be normal again. Their entire approach was about changing back to how they were before. But this human he just spent time with. He shared things he loved. He made laugh. He never once asked, "Why won't you talk?" or "When will you feel better?" It was such a simple difference, but realized it was everything. On the 8th night, something big happened. Was teaching the child a clapping game, a simple rhythm game where they would clap their hands together in patterns. The child was getting better at it. "Okay, now faster," said, speeding up the rhythm. They clapped together faster and faster, then intentionally messed up, clapping at the wrong time. He fell backward dramatically as if the wrong clap had knocked him over. The child opened its mouth and laughed, an actual, audible laugh. It sounded like wind chimes mixed with purring. Sat up stunned. "Whoa, that was amazing." The child stopped, suddenly shy. It covered its mouth with its claws. "No, no, it's okay," said gently. "Laughing is good. Your laugh is beautiful." The child lowered its claws slowly, stood up and held out his hand. "Come on, let me show you something." The child took his hand. It was the first time they had touched beyond passing food, led the child to the big window. They looked out at the stars together. "You see that?" Pointed at the stars. "Every one of those lights is a sun, and around those suns are planets, and on those planets are people. all different kinds of people. The child pressed its face against the window, looking out with wonder. Some of those people are probably scared right now, said. Some are happy, some are sad, some are eating dinner just like us. We're all out here together in this big universe. And it's okay to feel however you feel. Scared, happy, sad, whatever. It's all okay. The child looked up at him. Then, very quietly, in a voice barely louder than a whisper, it said something. One word in the language. Didn't understand the word, but he understood that the child had spoken. He knelt down to be at eye level with the child. Did you just talk? The child nodded slightly, smiled, and tears filled his eyes. That's wonderful. I'm so proud of you. In her office, watched the screen. Tears ran down her face too. Her baby had spoken. After 6 months of silence, had finally spoken. And it was because of a human cleaner who simply showed kindness. The next morning was called to a meeting. The message on his tablet was formal and serious. Report to conference room 7 Alpha immediately. Stomach dropped. This was not normal. In 2 years of working here, he had never been called to a conference room. Those rooms were for important people, not janitors. He changed into his cleanest uniform and went to the conference room. His hands were sweating. Had he done something wrong? Was he getting fired? When he entered the room, he froze. There were 5 people sitting at a long table. 4 of them were station security officers. The 5th was a female. She was huge, maybe 8 feet tall, with dark scales that shimmered like oil. Her eyes were gold and intense. She wore formal diplomatic robes. Sit down, one of the security officers said. Sat, his heart was pounding. Do you know why you're here? The officer asked. No, sir, said quietly. The officer activated a holographic display. Security footage began to play. It showed meeting the dragon child, sharing food, playing games, teaching songs. You have been having unauthorized contact with a diplomatic dependent, the officer said. This is a serious violation of station protocol. His face went pale. I didn't know. The child was alone and scared. I was just trying to help. You should have reported it immediately to security, another officer said. I know, said. I'm sorry, I just thought. The kid looked so scared. I didn't want to make it worse by bringing in a bunch of security officers right away. The woman had been silent this whole time. Now she spoke. Her voice was deep and powerful. Everyone leave, she said. I wish to speak with this human alone. The security officers looked at each other. Then they stood and left the room. The door closed behind them. And the woman sat alone. The silence was heavy. Do you know who I am? She asked. No, ma'am, said. I am Ambassador. The child you have been meeting with is my child. Felt like he might pass out. He had been feeding dumplings to an ambassador's kid. He was definitely getting fired, maybe even arrested. I am so sorry, said quickly. I didn't mean any harm, I swear. I just wanted to help. I know, said. Her voice was softer now. I have been watching you, every interaction, every meeting. Looked up surprised. You've been watching? Yes, for the past week. Through security cameras and sometimes in person. Leaned forward. I need to explain something to you. 6 months ago there was an attack. Assassins tried to kill me. Was there, my child saw everything. Listened, his eyes wide. Since that day has not spoken, continued. Not one word, not even telepathically, which is natural for our species. We have tried everything. The best doctors, the most advanced medicine, nothing worked. She paused and could see pain in her golden eyes. Then you came along, said. A human cleaner who knew nothing about psychology, who had no training in treating trauma. And you did what no one else could do. You made my child speak. I didn't really do anything, said. I just hung out with the kid. Exactly, said. That is what makes it remarkable. You did not try to fix, you did not push or demand. You simply existed alongside my child. You shared your food, your music, your laughter. You asked for nothing in return. She stood up and walked to the window. This is not how we approach problems. We are warriors, diplomats. We solve things through strength and strategy, but my child did not need strength, needed someone who could just be present without expectation. Didn't know what to say. Turned back to him. I want to hire you. What? I want you to continue spending time with, officially. I will pay you well, very well. I don't understand, said. You want me to keep hanging out with your kid? Yes, as a cultural companion. You will teach about human customs, human games, human ways of thinking. But mostly, you will just be you. Thought about it. Ambassador, I'm not a therapist. I'm not a teacher. I'm just a cleaner. I know, said. That is exactly what needs. Not another expert, just a friend. What if I mess up? Asked. What if I do something wrong and make things worse? You won't, said with certainty. You have a gift. You see beings for who they are, not what they should be. That is rare in this galaxy. Was quiet for a moment. Then he asked, can I still do my cleaning job? I actually like it. It's peaceful. Smiled. It was the first time had seen her smile. Yes, you can keep your job. Consider this additional work. Then okay, said. I'll do it, but not for the money. I'll do it because is a good kid who deserves to be happy. Smile grew wider. You truly are remarkable. Over the next 2 weeks, things changed. Now had official access to the diplomatic wing during the day. He would spend 2 hours each day with. They would draw, play games, listen to music, and just talk. Well, would talk, would occasionally say a word or make sounds. Progress was slow but steady. Often joined them. At first she just watched, but slowly encouraged her to participate. Come on, Ambassador, said one day. We're making a pillow fort. We need your help. Looked confused. A pillow fort. Yeah, it's a human thing. Kids build forts out of pillows and blankets. Then they sit inside and feel cozy. What is the purpose? Asked. Fun, said simply. The purpose is fun. Carefully helped them build the fort. They used couch cushions and blankets. When it was done, all 3 of them crawled inside. It was cramped, especially with its large frame, but they fit. Chirped happily. The child was smiling, actually smiling. This is illogical, said. We are powerful beings sitting in a structure made of soft furniture. Yeah, agreed. Isn't it great? And then laughed. A real laugh. Looked at their mother in surprise. Then the child laughed too. They sat in their pillow fort, laughing together. It was such a simple thing, but for it was everything. She couldn't remember the last time she had played with her child, really played without purpose or agenda. Word spread through the station. The stern ambassador was seen playing human games with her child. Other diplomats were confused. Some thought it was beneath her dignity, but others were curious. One day, another ambassador visited. He was from a species called the Talon, bird-like beings with sharp minds. He said, I heard you have hired a human to help your child. I am intrigued. My son also struggles with anxiety. Could this human perhaps help others? Considered, perhaps, let me speak with. When she asked him, was hesitant. I don't know if what works for will work for everyone. Maybe not, agreed, but perhaps others could learn from your approach. And so began something new. Started teaching other aliens about human concepts, about play, about rest, about the importance of just being present with someone without trying to fix them. It was strange. Had come to this station as a simple cleaner. Now he was teaching ambassadors and diplomats about emotions and connection. But he never forgot who he was. Every night he still went back to his cleaning job. He still mopped floors and cleaned windows, and he was happy. Was speaking more now, short sentences, simple conversations. The child was healing slowly but surely. And was learning too. Learning that strength wasn't just about power. It was also about vulnerability, about admitting you don't have all the answers, about accepting help from unexpected places. One evening, found cleaning the conference room windows. "You really do enjoy this work, don't you?" she asked. Nodded. "It's honest work and peaceful. When I clean, my mind gets quiet. I can just exist, you know." Smiled. "You have taught me much about humans, about life, about what truly matters." "I think has taught us both," said. And he was right. 1 month after they officially started working together, finally spoke in full sentences. It happened during an art session. Had brought colored pencils and paper. They were drawing pictures of their favorite things. Was drawing his grandmother's house on Earth. Was drawing something with lots of purple and blue colors. Sat nearby, working on her diplomatic reports but keeping one eye on them. Suddenly put down the pencil and looked at. The child's voice was soft but clear. Said and careful, "You are my friend." His eyes went wide. It was the first complete sentence. He looked at, she had tears running down her face. "Yes," said, his own voice thick with emotion. "I am your friend always." "I want to tell you something," continued. The words came slowly like they were heavy. "About why I stopped talking." Stood up. "You don't have to." "I want to," said, looking at their mother, then back at, "I was in Mother's office. We were drawing just like now. Then bad people came in. They had weapons. They hurt Mother's guards. There was blood, so much blood." Reached out and gently took's hand. He didn't say anything, just held the small claw in his hand. "Mother was scared," said. "I had never seen her scared before. She's always strong, always brave, but she was scared. And I was so afraid that if I made any sound, the bad people would hurt her more. So I was quiet, very, very quiet." Tears rolled down scaly cheeks. "After the guards came and stopped the bad people, I tried to talk, but my voice was gone. Every time I tried to speak, I remembered the blood and the fear, so I stayed quiet." Knelt down next to her child. "Oh, my little Sky, I am so sorry you saw that. So sorry you felt you had to protect me by being silent." "But then came," said, looking at the human, "and you didn't need me to talk. You didn't need me to be brave. You just wanted to share dumplings and play games. You made me remember that the world isn't just scary. It can be fun too." Pulled both and into a hug. The three of them held each other, crying together. After a few minutes, pulled back and wiped away tears. "I'm ready to talk more now. I want to get better." "You already are better," said. "Every day you're getting stronger." News of his breakthrough spread quickly through the diplomatic community. Within days, was asked to speak at a symposium. The title was Human Approaches to Cross-Species Emotional Trauma. Was terrified. He had never spoken in front of a crowd before, especially not a crowd of important alien diplomats and scientists. The auditorium was packed. Hundreds of beings from dozens of species filled the seats, stood at the podium, sweating through his shirt. Hello," he started. His voice shook. I clean floors for a living." Some in the audience laughed, thinking it was a joke. "No, really," said. "I'm a janitor. I don't have any degrees in psychology or medicine. I'm just a regular human." The laughter stopped. Everyone leaned forward, curious now. "You want to know what I did to help?" asked. "I didn't do anything special. I just spent time with the kid. I shared my food, played games, told stories. I didn't try to fix anything. I just existed alongside." A scientist in the front row raised her hand. "But that makes no sense. Trauma requires treatment. It requires intervention and structured therapy." "Maybe," said. "I don't know much about that stuff, but I know that humans had to learn something important a long time ago. We're not the strongest species. We're not the fastest. We don't have telepathy or advanced technology, at least not naturally. What we have is each other." He clicked to the next slide. It showed images of humans throughout history helping each other. "Humans survive because we connect," explained. "We had to develop emotional intelligence because we're weak. We had to learn to read feelings, to offer comfort, to build relationships. It's not fancy or high-tech. It's just human. Another scientist spoke up. Are you suggesting that your species' weakness is actually a strength? In a way, yeah, said. Think about it. When you're telepathic, you can read minds. That's powerful, but humans, we have to actually pay attention. We have to watch body language, listen to tone of voice, notice small changes in behavior. We developed empathy because we had no other choice. A doctor from the Talon species stood. But surely structured intervention is more effective than simply spending time with a patient. Maybe for some things, agreed. I'm not saying therapy is bad. I'm just saying that sometimes people need something else too. They need someone who doesn't see them as a problem to fix, someone who sees them as a person worth spending time with. He thought for a moment, then continued. Humans also learned that play is important, not just for kids, but for everyone. When you play, you're not trying to accomplish anything. You're just experiencing joy, and we need that. All species need that. The symposium continued for 2 more hours. Scientists and diplomats asked questions. Some were skeptical. Others were fascinated. By the end, half the room wanted to study human emotional techniques. The other half thought it was ridiculous, but didn't care about the skeptics. He cared that some people were listening. Some people were willing to try something new. After the symposium found him, "You did well," she said. "I felt like an idiot," admitted. "No," said firmly. "You spoke truth, and truth is always valuable." But not everyone was happy about the attention. 3 days after the symposium, was cleaning the diplomatic wing late at night. He was near an air vent when he heard voices. Low, secretive voices. He knew he shouldn't listen, but something about the tone made him nervous. He stayed very still. "The child is recovering," one voice said. It sounded, "This is unacceptable." "The human has disrupted our plans," another voice agreed. "If fully recovers and becomes strong, it will threaten our position." "Is already too powerful. A healthy heir makes her position unbreakable." His blood ran cold. These people were talking about herding or both. "The ceremony next week," the first voice said. "It will be the perfect opportunity. Security will be focused on external threats. They won't expect an inside attack." "What about the human?" "If necessary, eliminate him too. He's just a cleaner. No one will ask too many questions." His heart pounded. He wanted to run to get help, but if he moved now, they might hear him. The voices faded as the speakers walked away. Waited 5 full minutes before he dared to move. Then he ran. He had to warn her. He found her in her office. She was reviewing documents with sleeping on a couch nearby. "Ambassador," said, out of breath, "we have a problem." Looked up, immediately alert. "What happened?" Told her everything he had heard. His expression grew darker with each word. "Do you know who they were?" she asked. "No," said. "I only heard voices through a vent, but they sounded." Stood and began packing. "This makes sense. There are factions within my government who oppose me. They tried once before, 6 months ago. They failed. Now they will try again." "What do we do?" asked. "I will alert station security," said. "They will investigate." "But you said it yourself. These people are inside your government. What if some of the security people are working with them?" Stopped packing. Was right. If the conspiracy went deep enough, they couldn't trust anyone. "Then we must be very careful," said. "The ceremony is in 5 days. We have time to prepare." "Should we cancel it?" asked. "No," said firmly. "If we cancel, they will simply try again another time. Better to face them when we expect it." Felt sick. He was just a cleaner. He wasn't trained for this, but he had to help. Was his friend, well, she was important to him too. "What can I do?" he asked. Looked at him. "You can continue doing what you do best. Be observant. Listen. You notice things others miss because people ignore janitors. Use that." Over the next few days, listened carefully whenever he cleaned. He paid attention to conversations. to suspicious behavior, to anything unusual. And slowly, he began to piece together information that might save lives. The night before the ceremony worked his cleaning shift as usual, but he wasn't really cleaning. He was watching, listening, being the invisible janitor that people talked around. He had told what he learned. 3 diplomats were involved in the plot. They had help from station staff members who they had bribed. The plan was to release a biological weapon through the air system during the ceremony. It would only affect biology. Within minutes, every in the room would be dead. Station security now knew. They had a plan, but they needed to catch the conspirators in the act with evidence. Otherwise, the plotters would just try again. The ceremony started at noon. It was a celebration of a new trade agreement. Over 300 beings would attend, including 50, would give a speech, would be there too, making a first public appearance since the trauma. Wore a security earpiece hidden under his cleaning cap. He pushed his cart through the service corridors that ran behind the main ceremony hall. These corridors were his territory. He knew every pipe, every vent, every access panel. Position, his voice came through the earpiece. Near the main ventilation junction, whispered, nothing yet. Stay alert, said. In the main hall, the ceremony began. Speeches were made, agreements were signed, everything seemed normal. But knew better. He watched 3 service workers who had been bribed by the conspirators. They were carrying equipment boxes toward the ventilation system. They thought they were being subtle. Contact, whispered. 3 workers heading to vent junction 7. Do not engage, his voice was firm. Just observe. Followed at a distance. The workers stopped at a large access panel. They opened their equipment boxes. Inside was a strange device. It looked biological, with pulsing tubes filled with dark liquid. They have the weapon, reported. Looks like some kind of biological container. Security is moving, said. 2 minutes. But then one of the workers looked up. He saw watching. The worker's eyes went wide. Hey, the worker shouted, he's seen us. The 3 workers dropped their equipment and ran toward. He turned and ran too. His cart clattered behind him as he pushed it for speed. The corridors were narrow. The workers were bigger and stronger, but knew these passages like he knew his own apartment. He took a sharp turn, then another. He led them deeper into the service areas. They're chasing me, gasped into his earpiece. I'm heading toward section 12. Security will intercept, said, but her voice was tense, worried. Ducked under a low pipe. He squeezed through a tight space between 2 machines. The workers were bigger and couldn't fit as easily. He was gaining distance. But then he hit a dead end. A wall, no exits. He turned around. The 3 workers were there, blocking his only escape. One of them held a weapon. You shouldn't have seen that, human, the worker said. Raised his hands. Look, I don't want trouble, I'm just a cleaner. Too late for that, another worker said. Then heard a sound, a rumble. The workers heard it too. They looked around, confused. The wall behind exploded outward. Ambassador burst through, her full dragon form terrifying and beautiful. Her scales gleamed. Her wings spread wide in the narrow corridor. Her eyes blazed with fury. You threaten my friend, she growled. Big mistake. The workers tried to run, but security officers appeared at the other end of the corridor. They were trapped. Within minutes, the workers were arrested. Security found the biological weapon and disabled it. The 3 diplomats who planned the attack were caught trying to leave the station. The ceremony continued, though with much heavier security. Gave her speech. Stood beside her, small but brave. At the end of the speech, did something unexpected. She called up to the stage. Tried to refuse, but insisted. He walked onto the stage, uncomfortable in front of hundreds of aliens. This human saved many lives today, announced. He is not a soldier, not a security officer. He is a cleaner, but he has taught us all something important. That strength comes in many forms. That wisdom can be found in unexpected places. That kindness and attention are powerful tools. The crowd applauded. His face turned red. The Empire wishes to honor, continued. We offer him medals, titles, wealth. The crowd murmured in approval. This was a great honor for a human. But stepped forward. Thank you, Ambassador, really. But I don't need medals or titles, I just want to keep my job, and maybe dental insurance. That would be nice. The crowd went silent. Then someone laughed. Then more joined in. Soon the whole hall was laughing, not at but with him, at his honest, simple request. Smiled a real smile that showed her teeth. Very well, you shall keep your job. And yes, you will have dental insurance. The best dental insurance in the galaxy. More laughter and applause. Stepped forward and hugged S's leg. Thank you for being my friend, the child said clearly, for everyone to hear. The applause grew louder. After the ceremony, things slowly returned to normal. Well, a new kind of normal. Kept his cleaning job just as he wanted. But now he also worked officially as a cultural integration specialist. He taught classes about human emotional approaches, about play and creativity and connection. Ambassadors and diplomats from dozens of species attended his classes. He felt silly teaching them, but they seemed to appreciate it. Today we're going to learn about pillow forts, would say. And serious, powerful beings would sit on the floor and build forts out of cushions, laughing like children. Was thriving. The child spoke freely now, both vocally and telepathically. Still had hard days when the memories came back, but had tools now, and friends, and a mother who understood that strength sometimes means asking for help. Had changed too. She was still a powerful ambassador, still respected and feared by her enemies. But she made time for play now, made time to just be with her child without agenda or purpose. One evening, 3 months after the ceremony, was cleaning the big windows in the observation deck. He looked out at the stars, thinking about how strange his life had become. He heard footsteps behind him and approached. Taking a break, asked. Just enjoying the view, said. Ran up to the window. Teach me another shadow puppet. Sure, kid, said. He knelt down and showed how to make a bird shadow. Stood beside them, watching the stars. I've been thinking. Your approach, this human way of connecting through vulnerability and play, it's changing how we think about strength. Is that good or bad? Asked. Good, said firmly. Very good. We were so focused on being powerful that we forgot how to be present. You reminded us. I didn't do much, said. Just treated everyone with basic kindness. That's exactly what makes it remarkable, said. Basic kindness is not basic at all. It's fundamental, essential. And somehow in our rush to be advanced and sophisticated, many species forgot that. Was making shadow puppets, narrating a story about a bird and a dragon becoming friends, and watched, both smiling. Humans aren't special because we're strong, said quietly. We're special because we're weak. We had to learn to work together, to care for each other, to find value in everyone, even the janitors. Laughed, especially the janitors. A few days later, received a message. The Galactic Coalition wanted to establish a new program. Human emotional and cultural integration specialists would be placed on stations and planets throughout the galaxy. They would teach other species about play, creativity, emotional connection, and what humans called soft skills. They wanted to head the program. He thought about it seriously. It was a huge honor, a chance to make a real difference. But then he looked at his cleaning cart, at the windows that needed polishing, at the floors that needed mopping. He thought about the meditation he found in simple, repetitive work. He sent a reply. Thank you for the offer, I'm honored, but I'd like to stay here. I'll teach classes when I can, but I want to keep cleaning too. It's important work, and it keeps me grounded. The coalition accepted, stayed on Meridian 7 station. He cleaned floors by night. He taught classes by day. He spent time with his strange little family. Other humans came to the station, learning from Saproach. They spread throughout the galaxy, teaching aliens about the power of vulnerability, of play, of simple kindness. And slowly the galaxy changed, not through military might or technological advancement, but through connection, through understanding, through the lesson a human cleaner had taught by simply being himself. Years later, when people asked about his accomplishments, he always said the same thing. I just cleaned floors and made a friend. Everything else just happened because of that. And in the end, that simple truth was more powerful than any weapon, any technology, any strategy, because it reminded the galaxy of something important. That the greatest strength comes from caring for each other. That wisdom can be found in unexpected places. That sometimes the person who cleans the floors sees what those in high towers cannot. And that humans, weak and small though they were, had something special to offer the galaxy. Not dominance, not superiority. Just kindness, just connection, just the simple, radical act of seeing another being and choosing to care. That was the human gift, and it was enough.